Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Manatee County Candidate Forum for Florida House of Representative District 71 and its Republican candidates. I am Mary Lynn Parker. I'm a League board member and its Education Issues Action Team Chair. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan public policy organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League has both women and men as members. The League does not support or oppose any candidate or party. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted at the websites of the League of Women Voters of Manatee County and Manatee Educational Television. Reference can be made to it. It can be posted or shown in its entirety. However, it is the property of the League, and the partial showing or posting cannot be used without written permission by the League of Women Voters of Manatee County. In preparation for the primary elections on August 18th, the Republican State Representative District 71 candidates are here with us today. They are Melton Little, Paul Modarelli, and hopefully Jordan Varnador will be joining us soon. Candidates for this race also include Democrat Ocean Fitz and MPA Joseph Holohan. Today's candidate forum rules call for civility on the part of all of the candidates and the audience. The hallmark of democracy is the willingness of our community to treat each other with courtesy and respect. It is in that spirit that we are here this afternoon to engage in a vital part of our democratic process, a civilized discussion of the important issues that confront our communities. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer a question, and at the end of the program, they will have 1 minute for their closing statement. Linda Long is our timekeeper. When time is called, please finish your sentence. I will then call on the next candidate to answer the same question, and will alternate candidates going first and answering each question. At the end of the forum, the candidates will each give a 1 minute closing to appeal for your vote. We ask all candidates to speak only for themselves and not provide insight into their opponents' positions. There will be no rebuttals. Shall we begin? The first question: what led you to run for this seat, and why should voters choose you to represent them? Melton Little, please go first.
Sure, thank you, and thank you for hosting this. I'm running for this seat to serve the community. I've been serving in this community for 40 years, born in Manatee Memorial Hospital, grew up in Bayshore Gardens, graduated from Bayshore High School. I've been back here for 40 years, and over those 40 years, I've served on a variety of different boards in a variety of different capacities. I feel like I have a good understanding and knowledge of the different organizations in Manatee County, their needs, the issues that are facing Manatee County, the priorities that I think Manatee County is looking at, and I'm running to complete basically the circle of my service to the community.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dylan Modarelli. Thank you for hosting this forum and inviting me to speak on your platform. I'm running because I got tired of the grifters and thieves who continue to line their pockets while the rest of us struggle. We need real representation, not only in Washington, but on a local level right here in Tallahassee. The same type of politicians are going into office and they're not really representing us, the people. So we need someone that's going to represent our values and actually work for us. We need to put someone into Tallahassee that actually has a plan that's going to make this state better and is not going to sell out this state and not sell out the people. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question: what is your work experience? Also, what public service, community involvement, and leadership positions have you held? We'll start this time with candidate Modarelli.
Yes, I'm a 7-year police vet. I resigned in good standing in my community, and I'm currently a jeweler by trade.
And do you have some experiences with community involvement and leadership positions?
Well, I was a police officer for 7 years, so I've seen a variety of different issues, and some of them were not too joyful. And when you're a police officer, you need to think on your feet. and you actually really understand how bad things could get when you don't have proper leadership in place.
Thank you. Candidate Little.
What was the question again? But there was a two-part question, right?
Yes, what is your work experience? And what public service or community involvement and leadership positions have you held?
And you want me to do all that in a minute? All right. My work experience is I'm a real estate agent with Wagner Realty. I own 49% of Coolwater Plumbing with my best friend from high school. I own a commercial building, and I've been a lawyer for the past 4 decades in Manatee County with Callens, Little, and add a name, Delgado. Now it's Brocious. I work with my wife, who's my life/law partner. From a community service standpoint, we don't have enough time. I've served 21 years on the Boys and Girls Club. I held every office there was to hold. I have the highest award that the national organization can give. It's the National Medallion. In the 80 years that the Boys and Girls Club has been here, there might have been 20 to 25 of those awarded. I have the Lifetime Achievement Award, the William C. Grimes Lifetime Achievement from the Florida Bar for community service. I've served on the Economic Development Council committees. I've served on Chamber of Commerce committees. I was vice president of Keep Manatee Beautiful. I coached the wide receivers at Bayshore for 3 years. I coached soccer at Southeast for 2 years. I coached Little League, baseball. I coached soccer for probably 15 years from every organization from Onico, Whitfield to Manatee. Like I said, we're going to run out of time before I get halfway through.
And we did. Thank you very much. So we'll start this two-part question with you, Candidate Little. First, what are your funding sources? How much is from local donors? How much from outside of the state? And second, who has endorsed you?
All right, that one I have a list of. So let's start with endorsements first, if that's okay. I'm endorsed by Father, and I won't get to all of them, and I apologize if anybody's listening and I left you off. I'm endorsed by Father Gazar, Rector Emeritus from Christ Episcopal. I'm endorsed by Donna Hayes, Jack May, Kevin Wright, Carl Weeks, John Rice, Marnie Mattress, Gene Gallo, Mike LaValliere, Dr. H.B. White, Matt Bowes, former Sheriff Brad Stubbe, former Sheriff Charlie Wells, Major Ron Getman, Congressman Greg Stubbe. I'm endorsed by Americans for Prosperity Action. I'm endorsed by the Florida Medical Association, PAC. I'm endorsed by the Florida Board of Realtors. I'm endorsed by RAISM, the Real Estate Realtors Association of Sarasota, Manatee. I'm endorsed by the Florida Optometrists, the Florida Chiropractics. I'm the preferred candidate of the America First Party. A number of other just general endorsements and individuals who I left out. My funding sources are I didn't take any special interest money. I asked my friends. I committed to them that I would match most of their donations. I've raised $250,000 from over 300 plus contributors, and I've contributed 250 of my own.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli.
Candidate Modarelli, you need to unmute. I'm sorry. I'll restart the timer.
Sorry. Do you hear me? Yes, I actually just announced my candidacy about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm going to be self-funding my campaign throughout the next 2 months as we go forward. As far as the endorsements, I am not seeking endorsements from anyone but the people in this district. While other people try to chase establishment endorsements, that's not how I'm running my campaign. The only people I want to be endorsed by is the man upstairs, God, and the people in my district. Thank you.
Okay, and we'll start you with this next question.
Yes, ma'am.
What top 3 legislative initiatives would you champion?
First off, we need to stop the data centers because apparently they want to turn Florida into the financial capital and the data center capital of the world. I don't know if you're too familiar with how much water the data centers consume. They can consume anywhere from 1 million to 5 million gallons of water a day per center. And we're already having issues with the water in this state. So we could have all the money in the world, but if we don't have water, what do we have? Second off, I want to expand the trade school programs in this state because it's clear there's not too many high-paying jobs. We need more plumbers, electricians, carpenters, x-ray techs, things of that, truck drivers as well. And I would like to write some laws to stop killing the animals in our shelters because in Florida, we do have a pretty high kill rate. You know, throughout the nation, I think we're executing about 600,000 animals a year. I'm a pro-life candidate, and that comes from all forms, including our animals. I have about 15 more points that I want to get to, but obviously I only have a minute. If you go to my website, modarelliforusa.com, you could see my vision for this country, for this state. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Little.
I'm just gonna not speak in generalities. I'll give you three specific bills. One bill deals with the rights of elderly. I call it the Stephanie Seifert bill. Stephanie Seifert's mother was raped in an ACLF. Stephanie wants to have all people who have their loved ones in ACLFs or memory care facilities have the right to place a camera in their room, so long as they pay for it, they monitor it, and they remove it when the patient leaves. I support that. My mother just passed away at 100 years and 4 months. She was worried someone was stealing her book. I was able to put a camera in her room, go with her each time I visited, and show her bookshelf looked the same. The second issue is, I think if you work for the state of Florida, you ought to be able to take your gun to work. We're an open carry state. There's a lot of dangerous people out there. You shouldn't have the option of either calling under your desk or being shot. You should have the right to defend yourself. Third, if you talk to people in between the ages of 15 to 35, a lot of them believe socialism is a better system. We removed the class Americanism versus communism from requirements for graduation. I think we should add it back into public school requirements. Be one semester class.
Thank you, Melton.
And a number of others we can't get to in a minute.
And there's a lot of work to do, that's for sure.
Sure.
This question has to do with Senate Bill 180. It limits how counties and municipalities can amend their comprehensive plans. Do you support Senate Bill 180 as it is currently written? If so, why? If not, what specific changes would you pursue to address the provisions you disagree with? Candidate Little, you start.
Sure. SB 180 was designed with good intentions. It was designed to help provide relief from disasters and hurricanes and let people rebuild. The problem was the amendment that got stuck in at the last minute and jammed through that limited the wetland setbacks. I believe that government that governs closest to the people governs the best. I believe that each county is different. We have different needs and issues than Pasco and Hillsborough, and certainly different needs than Dade and Broward. So I believe that SB 180 in some sense trampled a little bit on that home rule. I know that incoming Senate President Jim Boyd has vowed to fix it. I know that the Senate had fixed it. For some reason, Representative Connerly didn't get it out of the House. It died basically in committee. So I think that in the next legislative session, which I hope to be a part of, we will get that one issue of SB 180 solved, and that will help local governments have more confidence in their comprehensive plans going forward.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli.
Yes, I'm not familiar with the full details in that bill, but I do believe that we should leave the power to the local governments and let them decide how they want to go about anything they want to do in their communities, because the local communities know what's best for their communities.
Thank you. The next question, the long one. Many Floridians feel that changes to the citizen initiative process over the past 5 years have limited the public's ability to place issues on the ballot. What is your position on citizen initiative processes as it exists today, and what, if anything, would you change about that? Candidate Modarelli.
I believe we should be putting questions on the ballot and letting the people decide on what kind of laws want to be instilled into the government. So I believe we should enhance it a little more and put more questions on the ballot so that the people could actually choose, because the representatives sometimes don't represent us. And that's the reality of what's happening in this country right now.
Thank you. Candidate Little.
Well, I'm running for state office, so I'm not looking at what's happening in Washington, D.C. or the federal government. I'm running for the state of Florida's House District 71. Citizens initiatives are great, but you also run into things like pregnant pigs. And, we had the citizens initiative with the greyhounds and things like that. I mean, I think the current system is effective. If there's problems with it, I'm certainly happy to hear about it. I have not heard of that while I've been out on the campaign trail and going door to door, talking to groups. This is the first time I've heard that question. So it's something I certainly would be willing to look at. I've said throughout this process many times, I knew when I started this process, there were a lot of things I don't know. And when I don't know something, I can go find the answer. But then there were some things that I didn't know. And when I don't know something, it's even tougher to find the answer. So I'm relying on a lot of people to help me. I'm relying on my friends here in the community when they have issues that directly affect their businesses. And I'm relying on the constituents, and I'll rely on the League of Women Voters. If that's an issue important to you, I'm certainly happy to look at it.
Thank you. The next question. Do you support the constitutional amendment to reduce property taxes for most homesteaded homeowners? Why or why not? What taxes or tax rates should be changed in Florida? Candidate Little?
I support the property tax reduction initiative. I heard the governor speak yesterday at the State College of Florida. I watched him sign into law 2 bills, one that required each municipality and local government to take a look at what it would look like if they cut 10% of their budget, and the other one to increase transparency with local government, to post their budgets online so that people were able to see them and make, independent and intelligent decisions about where their taxes were going. We need tax relief in Florida. We need to tighten the belt a bit. Some of the municipalities and cities can certainly tighten the belt. I understand the needs and concerns of first responders. They are legitimate needs and they are legitimate concerns. Police and fire are not necessarily affected by this reduction. And to the extent that they are, the governor was pretty clear that there would be funds set aside to cover those expenses if they weren't able to make it. The governor pointed out that over the last 3 years, he's been able to keep Florida's budget at or reduce it each year. If we can do that with a $114.5 billion budget on the state level, I think we can work with county budgets too.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli?
Yes, I do support eliminating the taxes, but we really have to analyze the situation because the reality is nobody wants to pay taxes. But what services are we willing to cut in order to get this established? If we could figure out a way to keep the services intact, we should do it. Also, there's a lot of things that need to be funded, and it's a lot of money. So I think that we should start with maybe the seniors and see how it goes instead of just going head first into something, because the reality is the school districts in this state, they're not great as it is. And the children are really the pillar of our community. So I want to eliminate the taxes, but we really have to be careful on how we do it.
Thank you. The next question. Florida has long had to balance economic development with protecting its coastal environment. What are your positions on offshore drilling and on proposals for a cruise port? And how do you believe the state should weigh economic benefits against environmental risks when considering these issues? Candidate Modarelli.
I'm against offshore drilling, and I think the majority of people in this state don't want it. The issue we're having is, the question you asked, what are the economic outweighs? Florida's a touristic area. Our water is our main commodity here. So I'm against the offshore drilling. I believe that the majority of people in this state don't want the drilling going on our coastlines. And about the environment, it also goes back into the data centers and the water. We need to start. Not everything's about money in this life. So we need to protect our water at all costs.
Candidate Little.
Well, the water is the number one reason I got into this race. We live on a peninsula. I did a video that you can find if you go to Melton for House on Facebook. You'll see a bunch of videos, and the first one that comes up is the video of the cruise port. Absolutely 100% opposed to cruise port. Very thankful to Senator Jim Boyd and thankful to Representative Will Robinson for passing legislation limiting the dredging and stopping that project basically in its tracks. In that video, I said I grew up on these waters. I did grow up on these waters. They're a part of who we are. As a 14-year-old, I would swim with my best friend in Bowley's Creek, which is the creek that you go over when you cross the Oyster Bar in 41, out about 150, 200 yards to a bed of scallops. We would put them in paint buckets and swim back. Somebody said, how do you swim with buckets? Like, when you're 14, you can swim with anything. So, now there aren't any scallops probably south of Pasco. So we have to improve our water. We have to fix our water. We have to protect our water. We have to start by cleaning it up. We need to, if there's legislation, encourage legislation to use a non-toxic or natural fertilizer, natural pesticides on our navigable waterway homes and things like that.
Thank you. So the next has to do with water as well, and we'll start with you, candidate Little. Who should manage Port Manatee, the state or the county, or and why?
When I responded to the issue of the cruise port and I posted the video, I also posted a 4-part Terracea Bay protection plan. That question is part of that plan. I know what you're referencing. There was some confusion with the public between the cruise port and Representative Connerly's bill to take away the Manatee County Commission as sitting in dual seats as the Port Authority and also on the commission. Once again, the government that governs the best governs locally. So if there's any type of compromise, the majority of the members that sit on the Port Authority board should be Manatee County commissioners. I'm not opposed to the governor appointing 1 or 2 people, but again, the majority needs to be Manatee County commissioners so that in the event that there's an issue, we can directly address it with the commissioners. My preference would be to keep it all local and have the commissioners remain in the 2-hat role of being Port Authority and Commission Authority. Again, because I believe that that's a local asset that the local government needs to manage and process.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli.
Yes, I believe that the county should be running the ports. I believe that the county should be running everything that's going on in this district. I believe in limited government, and the people in Tallahassee don't really know the issues that are occurring in local districts. You know, the issues that are happening in Bradenton are much different than the issues that are happening in Jacksonville. So I believe that the county should run the ports and the county should run almost everything. And the state should not be getting involved unless it's absolutely mandatory or there's some form of disaster where the county really needs the assistance from the state.
Thank you. The next question. Florida's new Blue Ribbon Projects law allows certain large developments to be approved directly by the state, bypassing traditional local government review. What is your position on this approach to development approval, and under what circumstances, if any, would you support revising or limiting the Blue Ribbon Projects process? Candidate Modarelli.
I believe that that's an absolute disgrace. We need to kick the developers out of this county, and that the county should be approving the permits for any issues that are going on.
Candidate Little.
It's a difficult question, and it's more complex than Mr. Modarelli says. There's a balancing that has to exist between personal property rights and government. We all know that growth is inevitable. It's how we manage the growth that's important. I believe we need to make sure that before we sell any land and start developing and looking at comp plans and looking at planning boards, we need to make sure that the infrastructure is in place for that development. We need to make sure that we have the water available. We need to make sure that we have the power available. We need to make sure that those developments in some part are cooperating in maintaining or at least preserving a bit of old Florida. Some of it is part of compromise and understanding. Again, you're free to look at my campaign resources. I mean, anybody can go online and see where all of my contributions have come from. I don't take any special interest money. I've raised money from, as I said, close to 325 people, over 95% within the district. So it's important that we strike balances and we reach compromises to manage individual property rights and to also protect our environment and our way of life in Old Florida.
Thank you. Another issue, Florida Forever, is the state's land conservation program. It's used to acquire and protect environmentally significant lands, water resources, wildlife habitat, and recreation areas. Use of funds voted by citizen initiative has sometimes been used to purchase land of very little environmental value, and most of the funds diverted to other purposes. This year's budget allocated funding only for conservation easements on farmland. What would be your position on the use of the funds? Candidate Little?
Well, we need to use those funds for what they were intended, first of all, and that's part of government oversight. And that's also part of representing the people in Manatee County in Tallahassee. One of the things that we need to use those funds for, and another part of the 4-part Terracea plan that I put forth that's on my Facebook page, is I believe that we should use part of those funds to purchase Rattlesnake Key. If we can purchase Rattlesnake Key, we'll have Robinson Preserve, Emerson Point, and Rattlesnake Key, and we'll basically have sort of a 180 buffer that protects the inland waters of old Florida. So I support that fund. I support the use of that fund. And I believe it's incumbent on each representative from their particular district to look at needs in their district and to put forward to the legislature what needs their district has from those conservation funds and how they should be used within their district.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli?
Yes, first off, we need to expand those funds and we need to start putting more money into those funds because it goes back down to the data centers and the water. The state of Florida has a water issue. And I'm not talking about the salt water. I'm talking about the fresh water that we drink to survive. So we should really take that money to protect the fresh water sources and the aquifers that we have in this state. Because once these data centers come, which they're coming very, very soon, we're not going to have any water. And this is just not me making a talking point. These are facts. If you go throughout, just not in Bradenton, several counties throughout the state, they're already having water issues as it is. And once the data centers comes, it's going to consume 1 million to 5 million gallons a day per fresh water. And they cannot use the salt water because the salt water erodes the machinery. So I believe that we need to expand those funds and we need to conserve our water and our wildlife because this is why people move to Florida. They move to Florida to get out of these big cities, to get out of Gotham City, to get out of the mayhem and come to a nice, natural, clean place where they could raise their families.
Thank you. The cost of home insurance has transformed Florida into no longer being a low-cost state in which to live. What can the legislature do to make sure home insurance is more affordable? Candidate Modarelli?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What we need to do is we need to start putting the hammer on the insurance companies because what's happening right now is the insurance companies are gambling your premiums in the stock market. And when the stock market doesn't perform well, they're increasing the rates of your premium. It's a little bit difficult on a state level. So whoever represents your district, we're going to have to really start speaking with our congressmen, and they're going to have to work on something on a federal level to stop these actions from happening. Because again, what's happening now is you're paying a premium for your home. The insurance companies are putting that money into the stock market. And at times, sometimes the stock market doesn't perform too well, and they're passing on their losses to you. So whoever becomes the state rep in this district and throughout the state, we need to come together and we need to start speaking to our federal congressmen and have them put some regulations on what these insurance companies are doing. Because the insurance companies, they're not working for your benefit. You know, and we the people, we need to start waking up and we need to start putting people into office that really represent working class people because it's clear it's not happening. If you want someone that's going to represent the working class, you need to elect Dylan Modarelli because I'm here and I'm going to protect you. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Little?
Well, I think the last thing we need is to have the federal government start telling the state of Florida what to do with their property insurance. That's a state issue. The governor spoke yesterday, and he pointed out that the citizens' reinsurance rate between last year and this year was 30% less. So the citizens' reinsurance rate is saving money. They put in property tax reform, or they put in property insurance reforms. Is it 100% perfect? It's not. Can it be tweaked to be better? I believe that it can. Is the reforms that the legislature put in place in the last few legislative sessions as it relates to property insurance working? They appear to be. No one likes to pay property insurance. I know it's very expensive. I've had my own personal issues with it, but it's something that we need to continue to look at. It's something we need to continue to evaluate. We need to continue to have the citizens' reinsurance rates drop, and that spreads across the board to help everybody with property tax or property insurance in Florida.
Thank you. This question: what is your position on expanding Medicaid in Florida? And how would you help residents who have lost coverage or can no longer afford care? Do you believe access to health care is a basic right? Candidate Little?
Well, I have a master's of law in health law and policy from Hofstra, and I'm endorsed by the Florida Medical Association, along with several other branches of specialty practices. I think I mentioned them: the chiropractics, the optometrists, several others. I'm sorry, what was the question?
What is your position on expanding Medicaid?
Oh, expanding Medicaid. So we do need to work on the health insurance. If it's possible to expand Medicaid, I don't think we need to get into a fight with the federal government about the federal government wanting to pay us money to help expand Medicaid if we need it. Medicaid provides for the most needy citizens. I don't like the Obamacare structure. I don't like the Obamacare system. I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it works. I think it unnecessarily penalizes people. It basically creates a tax on people and forces them into health insurance. But I do think health insurance is essential, as is the rate of reimbursement that health insurance pays and being fair to the doctors who operate under Medicaid.
Candidate Modarelli?
Yeah, I have a very direct answer. Of course, we should be funding these programs. We should be making some sort of funds. The state of Florida has money. You know, where they're allocating the money, who knows? Second off, healthcare should be a right. You know, you should not get diagnosed with an illness that has cures, and because you don't have some money, you die. What kind of society we live in? We should be taking care of our needy. We should be taking care of our elderly. We should be taking care of our young, and we should be taking care of people that need help. You know, I believe in what would Jesus do? And Jesus would help the people that need to be helped. And this is the issue we're having because our politicians can't answer these questions straight. Every person should have the right to go see a doctor if they get sick. If there's remedies and cures and medicines that could heal people, they should not only be for a selected a few to have the so-called good insurance or the people that could afford it. You know, you should not get a death sentence because you get some illness that has a cure. So this also goes back into the property taxes.
Thank you.
We need money. This is the reality. Trust me, I don't want to pay taxes either. Nobody wants to pay the taxes, but there's things that need to get paid for. So I believe in healthcare, good healthcare. I believe in healthcare for all.
And your time's up.
Should the government be paying for it? No, but we should be working on programs to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate trying to stay within our time limit. But the next question will go to you to start. When redistricting, what factors in the Fair Districts Amendment do you consider important and why?
When we're redistricting, we should be looking at the census and how the people are voting in that district. You know, if you're living in a district with predominantly Republican candidates, the redistricting should be put into place. You know, they talk about the gerrymandering and this and that. I mean, these blue states are doing it all over, and then they get mad at Florida when we start to do it. We need to play the same games that everyone else is playing, and we need to make sure that we put our people into office.
Thank you. Candidate Little?
Well, I have faith in the representatives that we have up in Tallahassee. With the latest redistricting, I think they looked at the boundaries and they looked at the lines and they did the best that they could with the information that they had. If there's redistricting that comes up, if I'm fortunate enough to be the candidate while I'm in Tallahassee, I'll take a look at the census maps. I'll take a look at the growth in each particular area and how we can fairly and adequately shape districts so that they best serve the community.
Thank you. The next question. Supervisors of elections have raised concerns about the recently passed Florida SAVE Act. This law will add new restrictions for voting and voter registration in the state beginning next year. Are there any provisions of the SAVE Act you would seek to revise? And if so, which ones and why? Candidate Little?
I haven't read all the provisions of the SAVE Act. Just in a general term, I'd say that we do need to make sure that elections are fair. We need to make sure that people that are allowed to vote, and we need to make sure that people that should not be voting are not voting. We need to make sure that citizens are voting. We don't need to have non-citizens voting. We don't need to have what's happened out in California, which is just obvious voter fraud or appears to be obvious voter fraud. So we need to maintain the integrity of the election system. However we can best accomplish that and also have the most people participate in the process is what I would support.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli?
I think that Florida is doing a pretty good job with the elections at the moment. I think that we need one-day voting, paper ballots, none of these mass mail-in ballots where they're sending these ballots to all these people. You don't know who signed them. One-day ballot, go to the booth, you put your ballot, audit it if it needs to be, and that's it. One day, one and done. We should not be having elections, which we don't in this state, but we should not be having elections throughout the country that are going on for 2 weeks and you still don't know who the winner is. So I think we need to get rid of the machines, paper ballots, one-day voting. That's where I stand.
Thank you. Next question. What reforms do you support to strengthen ethics and accountability for elected officials? And what steps would you take to increase transparency in state government? Modarelli?
We actually, that's actually a pretty big issue in this state because we have a lot of unethical people running the show in some levels of government. We need to really get the right people into office from governor down. We need an independent board, which we do have, but we need to, the most important thing is we need to have, as a former police officer, I know what integrity is. And we need to have someone that's running these boards that has true integrity and that is doing the right thing, because clearly there's kickback schemes going on. I'm not going to get into it right now on this board, but there's a lot of funny business going on in the state, and these things need to be investigated. And the reality is people need to go to jail, and we need a 10-year minimum mandatory for public corruption. If you're stealing from the taxpayers, you're going to jail. 10 years minimum mandatory. Thank you.
Candidate Little.
Well, I'm certainly not going to accuse anyone of sitting in current public office of corruption, but I think that we need to be diligent as state representatives. We need to be diligently reading bills. We need to be diligently following the funding. I think that the governor has line item veto, so he's able to specifically look at each plan. I think it's important who the governor is. I think that all the candidates that are running for governor right now are of very high ethical quality. I've heard many of them and seen many of them. So I have faith in the fact that our public servants, at least from Manatee County, are doing the very best they can and are following the most strict ethical patterns that they can. I'm proud to follow the people that have been in the legislature from our county, and I look forward to continuing to maintain the integrity that they brought to the legislature when they served.
Thank you. Next question. This is about infrastructure investments. What state infrastructure investments are most urgent for our District 71?
Is that up for me?
Yeah, a little.
Well, I think the infrastructure needs go hand in hand with the preservation needs. Again, I think we need to buy Rattlesnake Key. I think we need to ensure that our agricultural producers in Manatee County have the assets and resources they need to be successful in their agricultural endeavors. It's when the agricultural piece falls apart and the agriculture is not a sustainable business any longer that it becomes very attractive to those farms and farmers to sell their land into developers, and then we have development. When we have development, once again, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place first. We need to make sure that we have the roads and the water capacity. We need to make sure that the drain on the power grid is not going to be excessive. And we need to have everything laid out and lined out before we build. You know, we can't continue to build 6,000 homes on a 2-lane Moccasin Wallow road and expect there not to be gridlock coming in and going out of that road. So we need to be a little more thoughtful. And to the extent that the state can help all the developers play by the same set of rules, sort of in the sandbox, I'm going to support those initiatives.
Candidate Modarelli.
Well, first off, we need to start working on the roads because I'm getting a little tired of sitting in traffic for 30 minutes to drive for 2 miles. I grew up in a very large city, and I didn't move to the state of Florida to sit in traffic for 30 minutes when I have to go to the local Walmart. Second off, we need to start issuing and deregulating housing and zoning for working class people, not for developers. Because it's clear a developer coming to Manatee County and all over the state, and they could get whatever permit they want with a nice donation. But if you're a working class person and you buy a piece of land in the state of Florida, in most parts, you can't buy an RV and live on your own land. So I think we need to start deregulating zoning in this state so that working people could actually have an affordable place to live and they don't have to spend $1,800 a month on rent. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Governor DeSantis is committing at least $227 million of taxpayer money over the next 5 years to transform New College of Florida into a conservative Hillsdale College-like liberal arts college. Is that a good use of taxpayers' money? And if so, why or why not? Modarelli?
I don't think it's a very good use of money. What I think we should be doing is we should be taking that $250 million and we should be offering trade school grants to working people so that we could get more truck drivers on the road, plumbers on the road, electricians on the road, carpenters, and people that actually work with their hands, because working with your hands is the new gold. So would I use $250 million to go start a new conservative liberal arts college? No, I would take that $250 million and I would offer trade school grants for working people so that young people like myself could get a good, decent job that doesn't pay $13 an hour at Walmart. That's what I would do.
Thank you. Candidate Little.
Well, it's a two-part answer. Again, I saw Governor DeSantis yesterday, and he talked about New College, and he talked about the Florida university system. And his vision is to transform the Florida university system, which is all our public schools, into the best possible system that it can. To some extent, we've accomplished that. University of Florida is now high ranking on almost every chart you see for evaluations of public universities. I think it's important we continue to fund our public universities. I'm not going to take issue with Governor DeSantis's goal as it relates to New College. I think that time will tell as to how that situation turns out. I do think that my generation has not done a good job with the generation that my 34-year-old son is in. We essentially told that generation, if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful. We do need to focus more funds and more effort in children and young people that don't want to go to college, but want to be plumbers, want to be electricians, want to be a dog trainer like my son, things that they can do without having to have college degrees. So that's an important thing we can look at in the legislature.
Thank you. Next question. What steps should Florida take to strengthen hurricane resilience and disaster recovery? Candidate Little.
Well, we need to continue to remain and build our reserve fund. We know we're going to have a natural disaster. It's just a matter of when it occurs. That's the important part about what Governor DeSantis has been able to do over the last 8 years. He's been able to drastically reduce Florida's debt. I can't tell you the exact percentage, but it's a pretty significant percentage that we were able to reduce. He's been able to maintain, and with the legislature's help, maintain the budget and actually reduce the budget each year for the last 3 years. I would like to be in Tallahassee and participating in keeping that goal and that trend continuing. So we need to continue to be alert. We need to continue to fund our disaster relief, our rainy day funds. We need to make sure the counties are prepared. And I think we've done a fair job with that. I compliment Governor DeSantis, as did Mayor Brown yesterday, for coming into Manatee County, walking the streets, seeing the damage himself, getting everything back up and running. And, it's a tribute to Manatee County and to the state that we had not a single death in Manatee County from the hurricanes. So I think we've done a good job with that, and I want to continue moving the process forward.
Thank you. Candidate Modarelli.
I think we need to start expanding these funds that we do have. I actually lost my apartment to Hurricane Milton. I was displaced. They had a FEMA fund going on at the federal government. I applied for like $700. I was rejected. And this was going on at the same time that the federal government was sending all this money to New York City to house these migrants. So I think that on a federal level, we should be getting more money out of the federal government for these funds, because the federal government has the money. And as much as Melton Little doesn't want to do anything to deal with anything with the government, the federal government, we have money to fund all different types of things, all different types of wars. We have money going to all these different countries. But when a disaster happens in the state of Florida, it seems like there's no money around for it. So we should really start building these funds, whether it's with local state taxes, and it goes back to the property taxes. You need money to fund these programs. And our congressmen should be fighting for us to get money from the federal government. That's their job, to get as much dollars as they can from the federal budget.
Thank you. This is our last question before our closing remarks, and we'll start the answers with candidate Modarelli. What state actions would you support to protect water quality in the Manatee River, Sarasota Bay, and coastal estuaries?
That's very, very simple. Stop the data centers. We're going to say no to the data centers because the data centers consume 1 million gallons to 5 million gallons of water per day. And they're talking about bringing the data centers to here. So that's a very, very simple fix, which a lot of these problems that we have are very simple fixes. We just need to put the right people into office. So I would say stop the data centers.
Thank you. Candidate Little.
Well, again, the number one issue for me when I got into this race was the water. I wish it was a simple fix. It's just not. We need to fund the programs that are currently in place. We have programs that are in place. We have oyster beds set aside in the Manatee River, but we don't have the funds to seed all the oysters. We need to look with the fertilizer agencies and the fertilizer industry on how we can create more organic pesticides and organic fertilizers for houses that are on navigable waterways. We need to figure out ways to improve the water quality. And once we can stop the water quality from declining and start improving the water quality going forward, I think we'll be successful. I mean, this is a very important issue to me. I have a 5-month-old daughter and a 3.5-month-old grandson, and I grew up here. So, I grew up swimming in these waters, and, my wife's afraid to get in the water now for fear of flesh-eating bacteria. So we have to maintain our water. It's our life. It's a part of who we are. It's important for our tourism. We live on a peninsula. It is a big issue.
Thank you. And now it's time for your 1-minute closing, and therefore we will begin with you, Candidate Little.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for hosting this. This is very nice of you. And I want to tell you that my number one endorsement is my wife, Erin. Without Erin's endorsement, I could not be in this race. Erin is handling a majority of our businesses. She's handling a majority of the home, a majority of our child. So without her endorsing me, I could not be out there walking to now closing in on 2,800 homes since the 1st of February, including yours, as you know. So I've knocked on close to 2,800 doors. I think that there are important issues facing Florida. We need to have someone up in Florida who has the education, the training, and experience, and has been working with and in the community for 4 decades, who can bring the players together, who can reach compromises, build coalitions, continue to have Manatee County's needs met from the state legislative funds, bring back money for our projects, improve our state, and then stop things like, undocumented immigrants and socialist movements and things like that are appearing slowly as little cracks in our state government.
Thank you. And your closing statement, Candidate Modarelli.
First off, I want to thank you all for letting me speak on your platform. It's clear that this is a tale of two cities going on in this election. What I want to tell you is I'm not here to toe the line. I'm not here just to vote down party lines. I'm here to vote for the best interest of the people of Florida. My opponent said, talking about education and this and that. Listen, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I don't have a big fancy law degree, but I've made split-second decisions. I come from the gutter, and I was able to build myself out of that gutter by hard work with what I have in my head. So if you want someone that's really going to represent you and not the establishment, come out and vote Dylan Modarelli for state rep. Thank you.
Thank you both. And on behalf of the League of Women Voters, thank you to Melton Little and Dylan Paul Modarelli.
Thank you.
Meeting today, and to all of you for attending this virtual candidate forum. Today's discussion offered voters valuable insights to help make thoughtful, informed choices in the upcoming election. The League is hosting forums for most primary races at the federal, state, and county levels. To view the full schedule, register for upcoming events, or share nonpartisan resources with friends and neighbors, please visit the League of Women Voters of Manatee County website at lwvmanatee.org. Thank you.